Hello and welcome to another evening of frank conversation on hard copy. I am Terry Ikumi. Now, when the coronavirus pandemic broke out in Nigeria, with Lagos, Ogun and the Federal Capital Territory experiencing their first cases, one of the initial decisions taken by the government was to impose a lockdown in those states, effectively shutting down businesses considered non-essential and asking those who could work from home to do so. This was without prejudice to the decision taken by some states as well to shut down, so as to contain the rapid spread of the highly contagious virus which needs humans to spread it around. However, as the days wore on to weeks and the weeks into a month without an effective and efficient way of distributing palliatives to the poor, who have been the hardest hit by the economic and social lockdowns, governments at both the federal and state levels have come under increasing pressure to lift the restrictions. One of those who have come out to expressly state this opinion, maintaining that African countries cannot afford the lockdowns imposed on their people, is Professor Charles Soludo, who is a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He maintains that the length of time required for such lockdowns to ensure effectiveness in arresting the spread would make it near impossible in much of Africa and could result in an indefinite suicidal waiting game. In his speech on Monday, it would seem the president yielded grounds to the economists as he ordered a phased lifting of lockdowns in states which had hitherto experienced them. However, amidst a rising number of confirmed cases, increasing mortality as a result of the virus, and a fragile health system, has the president yielded grounds too soon? Our guest tonight is a former Labour leader, a two-time governor, and the current chairman of the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. Adams Oshiomhole, welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you very much, Terry.
The 1st of May is usually celebrated as Workers' Day. You were a Labour leader. In these times, amidst a pandemic, if you were wearing your hat as a Labour leader, what would you be saying to workers at this time?
But let me quickly make this point that I will never drop my hat as a Labour leader. That is my permanent constituency, and that is who I am. That is what shaped my views and inform my policy choices and even my attitude and style to whatever I do. I cannot divorce myself from my past. I can't run away from my shadow. People often look at the economy and say, are people now very comfortable? What is there to celebrate? If I review the newspaper editorials, 1 year, year after year, people raise those issues. What Labour celebrate on May Day is not necessarily the end of poverty or job security. No, there are always challenges, particularly as the world keeps changing and the shape, character, structure of the workplace and the system of production keep changing. It poses fresh challenges. It delivers to few and create problem for the many. And Labour has to also devise tools to deal with this changing dynamic environment. So what they are celebrating remain constant, namely the struggle for the working people and working families, the right to organize, for workers to form trade unions, to present a collective front before the employer, who as individual is powerful, having regard to his economic might, and to those who are responsible for managing, or if you like, manipulating the apparatus of state, which they can use to address their own class biases. Because governance is not value-free, it's not an objective act, it's a bias act. And it is shaped by values. And depending on the values of those in government and their policy choices, depending on who they want to favor and who pays, those remain constant issues, which Labour have been able to compel capital and the state in history to recognize the right for workers to organize, that they celebrate that freedom, the freedom to act as a collective. So for me, more than anything else, occasions like this, when workers are obviously on the receiving end, particularly the low paid and the lower middle class, is an opportunity to really remind them that that collective voice they have is not for nothing. Now, governments and businesses are going to have to make hard choices. Those choices will be driven by individual values. It is possible that a bank, just as an example, who has been posting so much profit over the past 5-6 consecutive years and distributing huge dividends to their shareholders, are now likely to play up the fact that over the past 2-3 months, my profit margin has dropped, and therefore I can't retain my workers. Labor has to remind them that, you know, we didn't just start this business yesterday. It is time to redistribute what you have been saving. So the Mayday offers opportunity for deep reflection and to think through fresh challenges to deal with the hard choices, the trade-off that businesses will make, that governments will make, whether at federal or state level.
The point you made about banks complaining about not making as much money and possibly letting go of some staff could possibly be the reason why Labour is standing on a position that the lockdown should be called off. Now, as a Labour leader, you insist that you're still a Labour leader. Do you share this position?
No, I think that it cannot be straightforward yes and no. It's not switch on and switch off.
No, it's more of it's more of what you think about it.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, but my stand will be formed by my understanding of the choices that we face. Now, if you expose workers to undue risk, and the risk of the spread of coronavirus is now beyond debate. People are clear around the world. Scientists are unanimous that this is what enemy which one president described as invisible, but more visible than the combined power of all the nuclear arsenal around the world. And suddenly it is workers in the health sector that are referred to as generals in this battle. They are the ones that are now correctly labeled as the war front generals. Those are workers. And so I think that Labour can't simply say just reopen, even if it will lead to mass deaths. So I think here we need a very, very deep reflections about what do you want to, which sector can you afford to ease the lockdown.
Mr. Oshiomhole, does it say that you do not support that the restriction order should be lifted?
I think it will be a bit hasty, and I might even say a bit dangerous to simply lift the restriction. I think now we should listen more to scientists. We should listen to people who have skill, who are knowledgeable in managing pandemics, public health experts. They, not economists, not politicians, should drive this process. And that is why I am satisfied with the way President Buhari has sought to manage this process. He keeps saying, and I think for good reason, I listened to the advice of the PTF that I put in place, because that includes the director of NCDC and the DG of Naka. Both of them have some experience in pandemic management, and you also have relevant ministers to bring in the political cover and all of that to deal with issues that have to do with policy and so on and so forth. When the technical people have analyze what is going on and the danger that we see. So for me, it will be a huge luxury for anybody to say, just reopen as if there are no issues. I don't think that is what NSC is saying. NSC will be the last to have a situation, for example, where, we are talking of health workers being exposed. Now, do you want to have a situation like you have in Italy? Or like you have in... so I think it's a delicate balancing.
On one hand, you say you do not think that the restriction of movement order should be lifted. On the other hand, you say you support that the president is handling it well. In a few days, that order will be lifted. So which is it?
Well, I think my reading, my interpretation is all of that is be equal. God forbid, if we found that, because the truth is, we may not have enough time to go to this. You have to recognize the fact that we have not been able to carry out the number of testing we ought to have been able to do to be able to establish a trend. Now, today I'm happy to read, yesterday I just saw on TV now that the NCDC is now more going to be more aggressive and is doing everything it can to be able to test as many as 3 million Nigerians. That would be like 1.5% of 2 million population. So until you scale up your testing, you are not going to be able to establish a particular trend. But at least from initial testing that they've done, they are able to now establish that, whereas at the beginning, it was about those coming from Europe or foreign countries who were the carriers, and then they infected those at home. Now it has got it to communities. We are beginning to see it in some villages. We are beginning to see it in local communities where nobody has a recent history of traveling outside even the city. So now, until you are able to carry out a level of testing to be able to establish a curve, you cannot pronounce with a level of finality. I think the president appreciated, and he said so. Well, he recognized the huge sacrifices that people are making. He appreciated the challenges faced by people who live from hand to mouth. I was a daily paid worker myself, and what that meant is that if I don't go to work in a day, I don't earn, and I do not have someone to support me. So how many days can you keep me out of work? So we are working hard. The government is working hard to see that, okay, between these two extremes, we'll find a very, very delicate balance. But it's not one that's going to allow you to say, I have switched, I have locked down, I have
battle with time eventually.
Lifted,
but pardon me, you say that the president took into consideration people who earn on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But there are also suggestions that the palliatives or that consideration have not yielded much, and that is why we can no longer afford a lockdown. And that's why it's been called off. And a curfew imposed instead to begin in a few days.
Well, I think
can we afford a lockdown?
I think you are using the wrong word, with due respect. I don't think it has been called off. I don't think so. That is not my... You have to try and interpret this way. Take one paragraph with the other. I think the president was very careful in his choice of words, but also recognizing, I mean, when I was at the NLC, we, as a matter of fact, I had cause to say, for the next 3 weeks, we are not going to go to war. People should stockpile food. And so workers told me, do you know we do not have the resources to stockpile food for 3 weeks? But we could end up spending 3 weeks protesting, managing it day by day. So I will imagine that the window of 1 week left for, and you are talking about Lagos, Ogun, and Abuja, but that is not the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is just 3 centers. And they have strategically, and because of their location, won't really understand why the government focus on those 2. I like to hope that the assumption is by lifting it on the 4th of May, it is not like, oh, we are here, now go about your life the way you have always been. No, I do not expect that. That will border on a bit.
The reason why this is a worry for many is Ghana tried something similar and lifted their curfew, and in one day recorded 271 cases, and that's for a country that has tested way more people than Nigeria. You also mentioned that we're having a challenge with testing, which the NCDC DG has also complained about. Are we doing the right thing?
Yeah, that is why I say it cannot be a whole scale. And it has to be conditional. All other things be equal, as the economists will say. I mean, I do not see us going to say, okay, go ahead, open everything, business as usual. But you will also recall that in that same broadcast, the president said, why they relax Lagos, Ogun, and FCT. However, interstate movement will be prohibited, except to the extent that it involves essential travels like carrying foodstuff or some items that medicine and some other stuff like that. What I will expect, I thought that the real thing is not just about border closure, border within states, because I'm not sure the trend has shown that the spread is just from one state to another. It seems to me that given all that has been said and all that we now know, listening to people who should know, like scientists and experts in public health, and those who are more now familiar with the nature of this pandemic, that within a household, people can spread it. And within the city, people can spread it. That is why the issue of social distancing is emphasized, whether at home or when you go out.
All right, comrade, let's pause here and take a break. And when we return, does our guest see a different trajectory for capitalism after COVID-19? That's in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Hard Copy, coming to you from our studios in Abuja. We're speaking tonight with the National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole. Comrade, now Nigeria's situation is compounded by a weak health system. We've seen an urgent attempt to ramp up testing facilities, isolation centers. We can't but mention the strikes by health workers that has, affected the health sector. You were a governor, and some people will attribute this to a failing health system. Would you accept your fair share of the blame as a former governor?
Well, not really. But to the extent that everything is relative, we can say, okay, maybe we could have put more in here and there. I was very clear.
Speaking as a state governor?
When I was governor, I was clear that, and I remain clear even now, that a heavy workforce is the most important capital. If a government chooses to build an airport, the cost of building an airport can more than give you 200, 300, 400, 500 beds of a first-class hospital, complete with all the equipment, and spend some money to train doctors or retrain doctors and nurses and other technicians, healthcare providers, and so on and so forth. And I built what I'm very proud of. I call it a 5-star hospital in Benin, in addition to building a number of health centers in every local government. The challenge, of course, is sometimes getting doctors to locate to rural areas. So I did my bit, and yesterday I read that the state government has finally decided to open the hospital. It has been an issue for which I've been very concerned. You look at the hospital, you know that some thought went into it, that you can have a place that provides both for the poor and for the very rich. You cannot, however, pursue one thing and neglect education, because the pandemic we are dealing with now, one thing I can see is that those who are well educated can readily see the danger of coronavirus or COVID-19, but those who are illiterate. So you also need to invest in education to be able to complement. So there are...
Comrade, let's stick with the health sector now. I ask this because it's been canvassed in the House of Representatives that public officers should be denied access, should be prevented from embarking on medical treatment abroad. You are one of the public officers who uses foreign doctors. You travel abroad for medical treatment, is that correct?
You followed me?
I'm asking you.
No, I think the issue
are you confirming or denying it?
Let's not, no, I don't think it's about allegation. I think the point you want to make, which is very apt.
No, the point I'm trying to make is this, permit me.
Let me tell you how I understand your point.
Just a second. The point I'm trying to make is this. You've been a governor. You still travel abroad for medical treatment till date. Is that wrong or right?
Wrong.
You don't travel abroad for medical treatment.
Wait, listen.
No, I just need some clarification. Do you not travel abroad for medical treatment?
Wrong. Will you allow? You want me to answer it the way you want? I'm not going to answer it your way. I will answer it my way.
Here's why I ask you this question.
First, I hope you didn't misunderstand the point I made. I
get your point.
That the situation in our health sector is not the result from strikes by medical workers. Let that be clear.
You said
it has to do
I just want to read out something you said, and this was just in 2017. You said that you've had cause to travel outside Nigeria for a comprehensive medical check, and that's when you were in doubt. And you said that the experience of Gani Fawemi shows that if ordinary laborers, medical doctors, find cause to go and do what we call routine physical check, why would anyone make it such a big deal that any Nigerian, including our president, should be denied the right for a thorough check? You were responding to reactions that the president was traveling abroad for medical checks. So that was you alluding to traveling outside the country for medical checkup.
Yeah. Now, when you travel, if you are apply for visa now to EU countries, they will ask you to have a health insurance cover in case you fall ill. So it's not as if you fix your calendar to fall ill or otherwise. The point I was making is that it was clearly unfair to talk like hypocrites Why should the president travel? When even the doctor, as a governor, I have, and I'm sure they will be in the record of Edo State government, many references by Nigeria doctors from both state-owned hospital and federal government-owned hospital, suggesting that a particular or some patients be referred to some hospitals abroad. And I found some doctors sometimes asking for those favors, that they need support to travel abroad. I don't think you want to personalize this. If you make it personal, and particularly in the context of politics, even those people who were making those oppositions, who were making those statements about the president, you put this question to them. I know governors who stay out for 3 months. Very recently, a governor was out of his stay for 3 months or 4 months, and they were suggesting they were going to pitch. I think we should discuss in terms of policy. I'm not here to defend my record.
No, it's directly pointed
Yeah.
at government officials, public officers. I say this because in the House of Representatives, a bill to prevent public officers from going abroad for medical treatment was considered, although majority of them shut it down. Would you support something like that to prevent public officers from traveling abroad for medical treatment? The reason would be that many have said that if we stay back, as long as we know, as long as public officers know that they cannot leave, they will develop the health sector. Would you support that?
It's a nice theory. It's just that it will just lead to people being dishonest. Because the one I sometimes found very interesting is when people go appear before a court of law and they are facing serious criminal charges, and they use health as excuse for bail and even to travel out, while they are facing criminal charges, including the possibility that money made for a health sector may have been stolen, and that is the reason he's before the courts. But if you just make the law and do nothing else, people are going to tell you we are traveling for oversight functions in the case of the National Assembly. Meanwhile, they have booked their appointment with a medical doctor depending on where they are going.
I need your opinion on this. Where do you stand on this? If the House of Representatives or the National Assembly comes up with a bill to prevent public officials from going abroad for medical treatment, is that something you would support? I ask this because
it will be fine.
Chairman of the ruling Progressive Party.
It will be fine. I think morally one should have no difficulties in supporting that. But however, having been a public officer and also having been a union leader, I see huge gaps between laws and reality.
Comrade, how much change do you think that capitalism is going to embrace after COVID-19? Now, I ask this because we've seen corporate bodies donate to the efforts of the government to combat the pandemic, and it's a move that many have praised and some have also criticized, because they feel, those who have criticized this move have said that they do so because they feel that they could have done more to help the system. What are your thoughts on this, considering wearing the hat of a labor leader?
I think that Nigeria, talking most, the work can't be the same. I now hear statesmen, in fact, right-wing statesmen, using the word that is usually associated with workers, solidarity. I hear prime minister talking about the need for solidarity. I hear presidents, I hear ministers, both developed and developing countries, talking of the need for solidarity within and among nation states. Now, that language, usually the workers' language. Solidarity forever. Now, it is a big man that is talking of solidarity. We now recognize that the market, by its very nature, is greed-driven. Its outcome does not always coincide with the social purpose of government, and that business can itself become a victim of its own greed. Now, the handout that worthy institutions and individuals are giving is commendable, but society cannot depend on the goodwill that may or may not exist in the heart of individuals who have made it. You rather want to have a more caring society. And incidentally, the All Progressive Congress, which I am privileged to chair, that ought to define or at the heart of our policy choices, using the instrument of governance to deliver the greatest good to the greatest number in the shortest possible time. And that explains the much talked about social investment which people have criticized how it is being managed.
It's a good thing you mentioned there,
Yeah.
your party, the All Progressives Congress, because it seems that all politicking is on hold right now. How's this affecting politics as far as your party is concerned, especially considering the Edo governorship election and the running battle with your successor? How's this going to play out for you?
No, but let me clear one thing. I have no running battle with my successor. It's just that I don't want to talk about it. My brother, Governor Obaseki, knows that. All that I have advised him, and a number of governors can also testify to this, is that please work with everyone. The good, the bad, the ugly. And that is all I advise. Until today, that is what I will advise him. If you work with everyone, you don't have distractions. Politics is like a forest. You can't pick and choose. It's not like a golf course. And I tried. I mean, I have many witnesses. I don't like to be seen as having a running battle. I'm never going to be governor
But you
again.
supported him in, before for his first tenure.
If I wasn't
Do you support him now?
If I wasn't supporting him, I would not advise him not to fight with
So you
political
support him
leaders.
now?
I wish him well, and if I have invested what I invested for him to get there, I have a responsibility to ensure that when he gets there, that he succeeds. I can't celebrate his failure if he fails, which is why I felt compelled to offer those advice. And I'm happy that he has been fair enough to say there was nothing fundamental. It's not about me. It's not about policy choices. It's not about government projects. It's just about this. Yes, this character, that character, whoever they are, no matter their nature, carry them along. Till tomorrow, that is the advice I will give to him and I will give to anyone. What I know is ever constant, even on the day of election, whether within our party or between our party and another party, is that we must make peace.
Comrade Adams Oshiomhole,
War
thank you.
will not help anyone.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for finding time to come and speak with
My
us
pleasure.
on Hard Copy. Well, thank you so much for finding time to watch as well. That's our conversation tonight. But we always want to hear from you, so send us a mail using the handles on your screen. Thank you for watching. I am Terry Ikumi. Good night.